You
Yeah.
decided to drop out of school, which is that's a pretty big decision.
Yeah,
It
it
sounds like
was.
the game experience, was so compelling that what was it about it? There was the feeling. It was something that was different or more compelling than what you were getting from school, or what was that exactly?
Oh, 100, yeah, 100%. I actually, so I've gone to school now and learned so much more about neuroscience. It's actually amazing. I'm so happy that I've actually had this knowledge that I do now, because I do understand, with these stimulating things, it's not terrible to do, every now and then or so. But I know it's when you get that, these things are made for like quick reward, and how it's made to kind of come into your brain is that it just gives you so much stimulation. So when you are doing something that takes discipline, like doing your homework or other things like that, it makes them so much more dull, so much more dry, and it just makes them. It's like, why, if I can feel so good all the time, or have these crazy highs and lows by playing this game, and have so much like emotional, um, I guess, engagement here, why would I work so hard, like learning something? Why would I do that? It just doesn't make any sense. And that's what I see with a lot of my friends that play a lot of video games. And um yeah, honestly, I haven't it's so very hard to see some of my friends, kind of like the different ways that their lives are going based off of how their involvements in, virtual world, or in a video game, because it is so compelling, it is so engaging. And but what I know what that is now, it's just chemicals in your brain. It's just dopamine signaling and taking over your reward system. And I don't want to get like too technical with the brain stuff, but basically, if I could break that down, very just simply, you could kind of think of it as three different parts. So you have the front of your brain, which is going to be kind of your prefrontal cortex. And this is going to make all of your decisions, right? And doing hard things like reading books, you can kind of work out your brain and make that stronger, and you can make better decisions for yourself. And when you have a strong prefrontal cortex, that is going to allow you to regulate your emotions and regulate your stress better. It's going to make you much, much more healthier just as a person in general. And you're going to be much better socially. There's a whole plethora of good things, I think, with increasing, your prefrontal cortex capabilities. And in the center, the second part, that is going to be kind of where you are feeling a lot, kind of more your emotional side of things. It's going to be, all of your emotions that kind of rise up, and like, oh, I really want that piece of cake. Oh, I need to play this game right now. It's kind of those things overtake your prefrontal cortex in cases of addiction, and in video game addiction as well. That is, now it's in the DSM-5, which is how psychologists and therapists, how they actually classify these certain things. It's finally catching up with behavioral addictions like gambling and things like that. And I think they're all tied one and the same. And then the third part, that would just be more your brainstem area. That's kind of where the dopamine is all coming from. So what ends up happening is you have all this flood of dopamine that is just giving you all of these very, very strong emotions, especially when you're a teenager. The front of your brain is still growing. So you're really susceptible to these things. So you got to be pretty careful with that. So if you have all these wild emotions that are shooting your behaviors in certain ways, you're not directing your life anymore. That is directing your life. And that's why it's so hard, because you don't know. I
Mhm.
mean, you have to get a neuroscience degree to understand how to rewire your biology. Like that, it takes years and years to understand that at a deep level. So it's so difficult. But I know with that kind of understanding, that's what allows you to be, I want to be, prefrontally intelligent. I want to be able to control those emotions and have control of my life again, because it's the same thing. And you see in the same cases of like mood disorders, depression, things like that, a lot of it is mood regulation. And so what I would like to do is to be able to provide a sort of philosophy and also treatments that could impact your brain in a way to where you can understand how that sort of shooting of dopamine, how those feelings are trying to overtake your behavior, and how you can understand to regulate that properly through different practices and different techniques. Like, like meditate.
And so I understand a little bit better. It's almost like as you were describing that, I was thinking about, the game characters, the content, or, whatever's on behind the screen is almost reaching past your frontal lobe, bypassing your
Oh
executive
yeah.
decision making, and just, tapping into this really primal circuit. And that's a very powerful visual. I'd be curious if you could share, obviously you have both the sort of the science, um, but also personally, what that's like to experience something like it. Because I think if aliens landed here or something, they heard what you were describing. It's like,
Yeah.
well, it's it's a screen. It's like the size of a postage stamp or whatever. It seems like it's kind of a crazy thing that it could be that powerful, right? It's not physically touching you, but it is activating those circuits. Like, what is actually going on there? And if you feel comfortable talking both from the scientific perspective, but also just
Hmm.
subjectively, like
Yeah.
what is that?
Well, I think that's the whole goal actually, is to kind of bridge those two worlds where you want to have a philosophy of living life that helps you regain control of your biology. So what it feels like, I guess the term would be, it's really affective. It's really, you can kind of think of it as like a flood of emotions. So I think it would be kind of the same thing as like taking a very like hardcore drug when you're playing video games. Um, I think you'd have to understand the community itself to be like,
Yeah.
oh, like if someone's playing Fortnite, right, and they get 5 kills in a row or something, or they just win the game, they are so involved with that. They're so captivated by that. Their brain is just firing and going nuts. And what happens is their brain is rewiring to try to get that reward again. That's what they're always chasing. Their brain gets rewired. So again, I guess the middle part of your brain, which would be firing so much and try to take over the decision making part of your brain in order to try to do that behavior over and over and over again. So I guess what I would say, on a more like just base term, would be when you're getting when you're playing, you get those feelings sometimes. It's not always sunshine and rainbows. Like, you also feel really bad lows, but your brain sets up a higher like reward response. So when you do something in the game, like you do something good in it, you just feel so amazing towards it. It's like a moth flying into a light just over and over again, and it is just it's almost uncontrollable, especially I would say for teenagers whose brains are still developing. And that's
Mhm.
not anything against teenagers. I'm saying that with as much sympathy as I can, because I was that teenager, moth flying into the lights over and over again while I was playing the game. And it's I think it's very, very difficult. So I think especially for younger people who haven't had as much life experience to understand